Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento, and I feel like in over 1,200 episodes, there's one topic that we could all benefit from, but I don't think we talk about it often enough. I actually feel like it's becoming a bit of a lost art in today's world with all this technology, which also means that it's the easiest way to stand out, and that way is through merchandise. Merch is so important as we build our brands. It's not just merch for merch's sake. It's a way for us to further those brands, to advertise our businesses, and that's why we have found an incredible guest in this space. This is someone who is brilliant, not only when it comes to merch, but this is someone who you will see equally loves all things business. So let me introduce you to today's guest. His name is Kris McAlavey. Kris is a dynamic entrepreneur specializing in merchandise development and branding. With a keen eye for market trends and consumer preferences, he has successfully launched multiple merchandise lines that resonate with diverse audiences. His journey began while finishing college, where he identified a gap in the market for quality custom brand merchandise. Leveraging his expertise in design and marketing, Kris created a brand that not only stands out for its quality, but also connects with customers on a personal level. As the head of his company, Merch Department, aka Merchandise Department, Kris has overseen the production and distribution of innovative products, fostering collaborations with artists and influencers to expand his brand's reach. His commitment to sustainability and ethical sourcing further distinguishes his ventures, appealing to a growing base of conscious consumers. And as someone who has crawled through his website and all the different products that he offers, he knows exactly what to sell and how to help us stand out. So we're all going to learn a lot today. I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Kris McAlavey. All right, Kris, I am so very excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm happy to be here, ready to get down to business.
Heck yeah, lots of good stuff we get to go into. It's going to fly by, Kris, so take us beyond the bio. Who is Kris? How did you start doing all these cool things?
Oh, man, I guess it would probably have started when I was little. I used to go to grade school with some very cool athletes, kids. So when I was little, I happened to go to grade school with a guy named Jerry Rice's kids. I grew up around Barry Bonds' kids. And, oh, by the way, my cousin played baseball with Tom Brady and went to my alma mater that I kind of followed directly in their footsteps. So I had a passion for just wanting to be pro in something. Ultimately, it was sports. That gave me the confidence and the abilities and the understanding that I could push myself and I could be pushed, how to deal with teams and also how to be in a space where you kind of saw the spotlight and you had to deal with that and you had to be disciplined and you had to stay the course. And so I would say that my confidence arises from who I grew up with, where I came from. My grandma also was the executive assistant and right hand to Peter Bridgewater, who at the time was one of the founders in the original MLS. Him, along with Nike, they were the original set of investors in the San Jose Clash. So, I was 9-10 years old and I was spending time around the team and in the owner's box. And from that point forward, I always set my sights on not just doing the best I could, but how can I be valuable to people and where can I be an asset? Because again, as I mentioned previously, a lot of those kids' parents were already doing some of the greatest things on earth. And just to compare yourself to them, you kind of look at your own stature and you feel confident through it. And at the end of the day, I also played soccer and I played a lot of the different sports. So like I said, that's what ultimately drove the confidence to get to where I'm at today.
Yeah, I love that overview, Kris, for so many reasons. Listeners know you and I very much have soccer in common and makes me happy here in San Jose Clash here on the A, long forgotten brand. But it's so important for us to really look at the evolution of the highest echelons of performance. It sounds like that's so much of what drives you. And that's why I'm really appreciative that it's you that we're bringing on the air to talk about merch, because it feels like a lost art, but it's so crazy because turn your TV on and turn on an NBA game or any professional sport and merch. I mean, you can see those brands. They're brands that have become iconic. Go around Los Angeles. You'll see how much the the Lakers brand stands out and how much the Clippers are making a very conscious effort to stand out. Merch is the easiest way for us small business owners to stand out. Talk to us about that importance of merch and why maybe it's a lost art, but an untapped one that we can take advantage of.
So that's interesting. You brought up the Lakers. I used to work with a mentor of mine. His name was Bennett Hissel, and he used to run a company that had the confidence of the Lakers, and they would be printing the playoff shirts and so on and so forth. So I had originally started with a brand called Exclusive Clothing. And when I went and I set my foot forward on the brand and I started investing in it, I knew that if I'm doing samples or if I'm doing anything that's of any value, I want to get to the best people. And I'm not doing 1 or 2 or 12 pieces. Hey, your minimum order quantities are 144, no problem. Let's send it. That means I get your time. That means I get your attention. It's a good investment is the way I felt on my end. But yeah, in terms of merchandise, our TAM, our total addressable market, is so wide and so far. And I think that's kind of the nature of the difficulty of target marketing and finding your right space and who really utilizes it. And then you get to a certain point where you start working with artists and tours and Grammy Award winners and different people, and they all have their own set of connections. So you must really be doing something right if you can keep climbing the ladder. And of course, they never give you the first crack with the number one guy, right? You have to work your way up. Just like in sports, you start with a mid-level team or a lower level team. And once you can prove that you have that stature to win or to do things right or to continue building confidence and bringing that team from nothing to something, that's really where people look at it. So with merchandise, yeah, that's where we started. Originally, I called it Access to Design. I just wanted to give people access to design things with the specialty in merchandise and more promotional products. Then in 2014, I realized the niche was there, and at that time, I collected all the URLs and domains for merch department, merchandisedepartment.com, the merch department, the merchandise, all of every iteration that they have. And that's where I started to really plant my seed as, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to specialize in. So that also means that you do everything from aluminums and plastics to squishies and stuffed animals to blankets and cozies and quarter zips and hats and polos and water bottles and just all these different things. But our number one goal is to not sell junk. There is obviously a big gap in the distance between here and China. They are synthetics, they're into polys, they're into what their region produces, and they do it well. That being said, we always have run-ins in different regions, and there's always needs that can be provided at a great rate. But especially nowadays, dealing with tariffs and different things, we kind of have a little bit of a competitive advantage because we do 90% of our production here in our warehouse. We don't like to outsource often if we don't have to. We're just focused on how can we deliver and tell your story and keep it consistent for years and years and years on end. And we've been lucky enough to work with Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies, Grammy Award winners, as I mentioned before, and we're just sticking the course. We're privately funded. And like you said, now you're starting to see the different bigger companies and their advertisements and their capabilities. And that's just exactly what we're building. And that's why we've stayed the course, is we can believe that we are going to be one of them and a household name at the end of the day. So we've also trademarked our company in 35 plus countries now. We trademarked another sports angle on our company as well. So we've definitely put the investment into our team, our equipment, and obviously our IP and our assets. And so we think we don't just have great branding. We think we have the right people around us, and we think we have a lot of people we haven't even asked yet who we know can help us move forward when we're ready to ask that question.
Yeah, I love that, Kris. It shows so much of that ambition that you are the solution in your marketplace. And I think part of it, to be honest, as someone who interviews entrepreneurs for a living, what I really see as your superpower is that you view it, and all great entrepreneurs view their work as a part of a bigger solution and a bigger puzzle. There's something that I saw you write somewhere about basically merch is like having a miniature billboard everywhere that you go. And every piece of merch that we give to somebody else, whether it's a client who loves us that becomes our ambassador, our family members, is that everywhere we wear our merch, it strikes up conversations. The other day I was wearing a Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur zip up on a flight that I was on, and the guy next to me was just like, what is that? I want to hear about it. He was pitching me his business ideas. He was saying he was going to tune into the podcast. And that's the power of merch. But so many business owners don't know how to tap into it as far as what products should I put my logo on? Why should I do it? What's it going to do for me? Answer those big questions for people, because clearly you've tapped into the power of it.
Yeah, we always tell people don't be invisible, right? That's the first and foremost thing. But at the end of the day, we also work in t-shirts, which is not just a mini billboard. It's uniforming, in certain times. It's advertising, it's branding, it's dealing with the universal human condition that we need to actually protect ourselves and our bodies. So these are everyday things that we're already using anyways. And it's interesting because nowadays a lot of these athletes and bigger people in different industries, they all want to have their own brands and they want to spin things off. And sometimes that's right for them, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes you have to tell them, hey, you could get paid $2 or $3 grand a night wearing your Adidas and make your 10 or 12 grand a night performance for 1 or 2 hours. And maybe you shouldn't be worried about trying to be such an entrepreneur. So sometimes you have to have those, those hard conversations with people, because everybody has seen what's been done by, few before. And then they want to emulate that and they want to mimic that. But like I said, at the end of the day, am I in uniforming? Am I in advertising? Am I in the freedom of speech? Those are all things we look at every day. And it's more about the why and what we're doing this for. For instance, for us, we integrated some software a few years ago, and we didn't really touch it because we knew algorithms and things were changing, and it just wasn't where we were at in that time and space. We kept getting a lot of referrals and people that kept coming to us. And at that time we were saying yes to a lot of things and, oh, no problem. And yeah, this or that or the other. But now our focus is on tailoring those needs, working with few, but handling all their departments' needs, whether that's business to business, whether that's on the retail side, whether that's from somebody who's, like the YMCA or a nonprofit or a church, right? Those are kind of different places where we are starting to get asked more and more questions. We get more involved. But I also think naturally just being involved with people helps us get to the bottom line. When you're putting out for other people's initiatives, yes, I could provide that service. Yes, we can help you, no problem. But I look at myself as not just a printer, embroiderer, an applicator, a sewer. We look at ourselves as, hey, I'm going to try to help you with your branding and your perspective. And like you said, a lot of people, they don't know necessarily where to start. I work on some elementary school websites, and we build out platforms for ROTC and different people. And sometimes we go 17, 18 emails just because we want to give them the opportunity to decide. But at the end of the day, we'll make the decision on what we think is best for you as well, based on the market you're in. So, we work with painters. Sherwin-Williams, we're a preferred contractor for. We work with companies like Visa, Facebook, Meta. We've really been able to get into some universities, Electronic Arts, EA Sports. So that's where it gets to be a lot of fun, is when you do get the call and you do deliver and you continue getting calls. That's where I get warm and fuzzy inside, and I know our job is being done right. And again, our job is to manage deadlines, to make sure everything's right on your end, and we're more of a back office team. We've done music tours, we've done music festivals, and at that point, sometimes we're running POS systems and checking in artists and their management teams, and so on and so forth. So activating in any market, and like I said earlier, the total addressable market is just so wide. So I never throw away a business card. I never get rid of any data. Even if they go cold for a period of time, there is always a list somewhere to continue that connection. Because yes, every day we operate. It's not like, Tony from Tony's Pizza needs his shirts tomorrow, but he may need it in a few months. Maybe they just opened and they do need stuff, or maybe they're franchising and we're putting together new franchisee packets or new employee packets for tech companies or kits, so to speak. So we also do fulfillment and drop shipping as well. That's another service that we've found a lot of value in, and especially being able to ship internationally. I mean, we have packages going to Germany today. We've probably shipped to, 100 of the 182 to 196, wherever we're at, and how many countries are recognized in today's world. So we've definitely been able to touch a lot of different people in a lot of different places. One of the highlights was working with the Eagles, the rock band, working with them in 2013 to 2015, and really dealing with pieces of their merch. We didn't get it all, but that really gave us the start and the confidence to understand that, wow, we're in the right place. So let's keep working towards this and cultivating these relationships, and let's see where we could take it.
Yeah, I think that's the fun part, Kris, is that hearing you rattle off all these different clients that you have, industries that you served, everything from EA Sports, which is such a globally recognized brand. I mean, everybody knows that. Anybody who's ever played video games, anyone who's into sports recognizes that, all the way down to nonprofits and churches that you use. That's such a depth and breadth and variety of use cases, which begs me the big question that I feel like a lot of business owners ask, and that is, what should I put my logo on? And Kris, merch department, obviously, as built out as you guys are, you've got everything. I mean, you've got everything from duffel bags to t-shirts to literally products that I would never even imagine to put logos on, but you've seen so many different use cases. How do you help navigate brands and business owners into the actual products that they should be investing their time and energy into to get their logo in the most effective places?
It just all depends on the different budgets that people have. I deal with pro athletes, and they don't necessarily have designers around them. So sometimes we're the one that are putting together their lookbooks and making sure all their mock-ups are tight. So some people, we need to hold their hand a little differently than others. Obviously, we like a clean, easy source, like a tech company or something like that. Typically, they have a full design team. They've already made the decisions internally, and we're just there to hit it and print it, and also give them the recommendations, whether it's you need Nike or you need Under Armour, or you want North Face or you want Eddie Bauer. It just depends on where people are at with their look, where they're at in their region. I mean, if you're in Denver, you might be thinking a little differently than somebody in Dallas or somebody in Florida. Obviously, seasonality is a thing. We focus on tourism markets and hospitality and corporate stores. And at the end of the day, I mean, we're really just a print house first. So our focus was on controlling the quality, controlling the quantities, and then building outward from there. So even like our website right now, we just switched all of our software around. We have everything now tied to inventory. We used to have 800,000 products on there. Now we have about 1,100, and we're going to about 10,000. So like I said, we're starting to get rid of the different layers of what we would consider one-off use kind of products. But again, you never know who's going to call you the next day, and they're going to say, no, we really like them because they make these people happy and they bring happiness to this whole environment that we're creating, for whether it's a game or a tournament or just a daily event, right? And I think that's what merchandise is it goes hand in hand with your brand. It goes hand in hand with what your story is to the market. Because again, your inner circle is going to be wearing it. Your cousins might be wearing it. And then that's another thing I always tell people, you can't do 72. Like, you don't have like people around you that really love their stuff and love you and want to see you grow. Because once you get a box of shirts around you, you'll see how fast they'll fly.
Yeah, it's such a good point. And I've personally experienced that. People love representing brands, especially those of people that they know. So we often undersell ourselves with regards to how excited it's going to get people. And I love the fact that you're bringing that excitement. But Kris, I want to share this with you while we're here on the air together, is that one of our founding principles behind this show is that a rising tide lifts all boats. And it just seems to me, as an outside observer, looking at not only the company that you've built with merch department, but also you personally as an entrepreneur, it seems like you really embrace that attitude in the way that you operate as well. It just seems to me like you're totally down for any and all entrepreneurial conversations, growth-minded connections. It just seems like you love being of service to others. Talk to us about how that's played into your own personal entrepreneurial journey and all the opportunities that have come with it.
Yeah, I've got a couple kids, so sometimes on weekends I just get into a creative space, and I worked on another project called Outer Style for about 5 years. We launched on Good Morning America, Today's Show. We went on Price is Right, E! News. So I started to learn about the sales side of the merch business and the PR side, and what it takes to really activate on a national level, and then furthermore a global level. But at the same time, I do get caught up in creating on weekends, and I think about microplastics and the issues that are going on there, and I think about water. And so I've also created a few other little things that are passion projects at the end of the day, but they're fun for me. And that's what I would do, is I create a pitch deck, or I create a plan, and I typically work with I have a few great mentors in my life, and in different generations. One's in his 70s. He's originally a marine biologist, so his perspective is very different than mine. I work with a guy who's developed a product called eyewear, and he was a big wig at IBM, and this guy was working on 5G back in 2005 and 6 for Sprint, and I saw him not get to market on things, and so that had a reverse effect on me, where I said, maybe I'm going to start pushing on things, because I have seen how different people around me or their parents are still holding on to the winery or to the restaurant and choking it down, and they don't have their Fridays, Saturdays, or Sundays to go out and really live. And it just seemed like they're bogged down with work, or they just something that's missing. And so I think that sense of urgency is just, it's been within me since day one. Time is short here. Life is short. I'm also an only child, so that brings it into play that I've always known that I need to work with people and have good people around me. And sometimes you tell some people to fuck off too. So it doesn't always work out the way you want, but you follow your course. And like I said, I saw a few people who I thought, could go bigger and bigger, a little faster, and they were just kind of holding on to it. And so that's where I'm finally at that point where it's a full send mode. We are ready to go.
Yeah, full send. I love that. It's so clear that that's your attitude towards business, towards life, and that's been serving you in your growth roadmap. So, Kris, I always enjoy asking people in very different industries how AI is impacting their world, because let's face it, AI is impacting so many different industries in so many different ways. How's AI impacting either your business or your industry or your own personal life and workflows?
Yeah, I don't personally use AI a lot. I mean, every once in a while I'll use a chat GPT if I need to clean something up. But I've gotten to a habit where, I got pretty good at writing towards the end of my college career. And so I kind of speak from the heart. But with AI, I mean, I think it's that new buzzword. We see it in the sense that we're getting designs from people who might be using AI, and they might just be using a low volume version of it or a big volume version, but that they're not paying for. So then there's still discrepancies in their art, etc. We have installed an AI funneling software for our email and our whole dashboard and our database. So that's something we've just really started to use to bring in other leads and other sources of people who might not already be tied to us or in our 6 degrees of separation. They haven't been in our bubble. And it's kind of funny because, really before I started doing that, and you start getting calls and you start getting a lot of questions and people don't know you, you're just like, I'm a quality guy. Like, I only stand for quality, and I only want the best for you at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, AI is going to take some jobs away, but it's going to add more jobs in a sense. And it's going to give people a more better sense of understanding and how they're operating, and really understanding the prompts is the key to AI, right? A general conversation and the wrong words, they're just going to get you to a very similar place that's a little more heightened than where you were at before. So I think that just the adaptation and having people who start to really understand it. I mean, one of the things, like I said, I have a Chat GPT money prompt in front of me. I mean, these are things that we're actively looking at every day, and AI doesn't just help with anything you want to ask. It helps with productivity, it helps with output, and obviously it's speeding a lot of things up, but it's pretty mind-blowing what people are able to do. But instead of being scared of it, I think adapting to things is the number one thing here on planet Earth. We're getting thrown curveballs every 5, 10, 15 years, and collapses and different inner workings of structures of politics, and that those changes then force the businesses to mold and adapt. And it's one of those things where I'm still trying to fully understand how it's going to impact every aspect of my life, but I've seen the quick and the slow models of each side of the equation.
Yeah, and that speaks so much to your entrepreneurial mind and your personal attitude, Kris, towards all of this stuff. Is, yeah, none of us know these answers, quite frankly, but you just know that you're going to be adaptable, and that's something that universally has served you well and will continue to serve you well. So it's really cool to hear your thoughts there. Along those lines, I'm excited. This question I ask at the end of every single episode, and it's super broad, so I have no idea which direction any of our guests will take it in. And Kris, I feel like you can pull on so much from your own personal experience here, and that is, what's your best piece of advice for listeners? Knowing that we're being listened to by both wantrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at all different stages of their own growth journeys, and also knowing that you are one of us, you're a fellow entrepreneur yourself, what's that one piece of advice that you want to leave listeners with today?
I would say I have two pieces of advice. The first one would be, do one thing and do it well. I reluctantly gave a story earlier about me wanting to start some other things in water and these other forms of businesses, and that sometimes is a big downfall in a sense, but that speaks to the creator in me and just wanting to do bigger things at the end of the day. And number two, I would tell people, when handle your own business, stick to your course. My mentor told me, look outside. If the plants weren't doing their business, we wouldn't be here doing ours. So at the end of the day, I think those are two quick focal points of how I operate and why I operate the way I do. And, the world doesn't stop. So whatever you do, put your heart and soul into it and focus on one thing and get really good on that. And by doing that, you'll then start to gain more and more respect through the course of your relationships. Sometimes they say, hey, if you make it past 5 years, you're going to be good. I mean, we had a more difficult time, more like last year, year 10, So everybody's course is not always the same. There's these cliches out there, but stick to doing one thing right and do it well and make people happy. And just look around you. Again, if the trees weren't there and the photosynthesis processes wasn't happening, we wouldn't be here doing our job.
Boom. So well said. That's the real stuff, Kris. I so appreciate you offering those words of wisdom to our listeners all around the world. I'm also super excited for listeners. Hopefully this is the spark that people say, wow, why do I not have merch? Why do I not have these walking billboards all over from people that I care about, from my clients and customers? Why am I not tapping into that? Well, Kris, you make it certainly so much easier to see all the possibilities when it comes to merchandise, because your website, I love the categories along the left. I love how much you break down all the possibilities to put our logos on. So drop those links on us for listeners who want to check out all the great stuff that you're doing at Merch Department. Where should they go from here?
Yeah, merchdepartment.com. Again, we have all the iterations. So merchdept.com is kind of where you will go. We're ready for people who are involved in this space. We're happy to be here. And again, we're based out of Northern California. We ship all over the USA. We have aspirations to get to the East Coast at some point soon as well. We also ship internationally. So if you have events or you have trade shows in other places, no problem. As I always say, we've got you covered. And one of our key slogans is, get your brand on.
Yeah, I love that. And listeners, if you want to get your brand on, you don't have to remember that link. No worries. If you're on the go, we've got it down below in the show notes, although it's super easy to remember, merchdepartment.com. And it sounds like Kris has all the variations. I'm willing to bet however you spell it, you'll probably end up on the correct link, merchdepartment.com. If you're on the go, click through from the show notes, no matter where it is that you're tuning in. Otherwise, Kris, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Really appreciate your time and energy. Thank you for having me. And maybe we'll do this again one day soon.